My name is Ed Hooks. I teach acting for animators. I teach actual formal acting theory to animators. I'm not an animator. So I teach the connections between thinking, emotion, physical action, and scene structure, characterization, those kind of things. And what I teach is applicable to any kind of animation, as long as it's character animation. So I've been doing it since 1996, and I've been coming to FMX since 1999 or something like that. The first thing you're looking for is whether the character on the screen is doing anything. Okay, acting is doing, and emotion tends to lead the action. And then we see what the character's doing, and then with empathy, we look underneath the doing and relate to the emotion, and therefore we understand the characters and care about them. So the first thing is whether they're doing anything. And in a lot of animation, what you see are happy characters doing happy things without any conflict. They're cute models, they are charming, they're likable, but they're not doing anything. And so likability and the illusion of life is not enough. So I consider that the endowment of a character with an illusion of life is where acting begins. It's not where it ends. So it's not sufficient just to have a character that is emotional and has personality. It's not enough. And as an acting teacher, I see it immediately. I can't not see it when I see it on screen. So I respond to it right away. And I usually have some sense of what might have been done to make it stronger if I see that kind of thing, a character. I teach that you should be able to freeze frame a character at any time and say to that character, "What are you doing?" And the character should be able to answer in theatrical terms. This is my objective, this is the action I'm playing to achieve that objective, and this is the obstacle that I'm overcoming. And if a character cannot answer in theatrical terms, then you have a problem. From my perspective as an acting teacher, you cannot act emotion. It is impossible. I cannot act happy. I cannot act sad. So if you say to a character, "What are you doing?" and the character says, "I'm sad, I'm unhappy," and you say, "Yes, I know that. So what are you doing?" Character says, "I just am so sad." I understand. So what are you doing? So the character often in some of these movies, even big budget movies, they can't answer the question. They're not doing anything. They're just there with an emotion and charm. And so that's what I look for with acting, is whether or not, first of all, there's any acting going on, and number two, whether or not the story itself is worth the telling. They often have no other reason. They stick them in there because they're cute. They stick them in there for comic relief. They let them tumble around and do this sort of stuff. They have no reason for being some of these characters. A story should be as economical as possible. You should never have a story. I mean, screenwriting, if you study screenwriting, you learn that you never put in a character that there's not an absolute necessity for. And these big budget animation movies are chock full of characters there's no need for. And they become diversions. Often they take the action away from the central character, often at pivotal moments, when we should be staying with that central character to see them go through a decision-making process. And instead of that, we go away onto some secondary character that's cute. And they sing a song. And so I mean, I certainly agree that you should have characters that are there for a reason, and but mine is a minority voice in this, and I realize that. It depends on what, for me personally, I want a story to have some relevance to life, to something. In the very big budget movies, often there's no reason for telling these stories other than to sell action figure toys or something. So there's not a real, it didn't start with a story. It started with a bunch of figures. And so I like stories that have some relevance. Here's what you need to understand about movies, is that we humans are storytelling animals, and we're drawn to stories because we learn our survival skills this way. We're not like other animals that have to learn our survival skills with direct experimentation. We can listen to a story about a character that doesn't even exist and how that character dealt with this situation or that situation and survived or failed. And we learn, we can relate to this. We're the only animal that can do this. Survival skills. And we are drawn to stories because of this. Sometimes filmmakers forget. They think that people are coming to the movie just because they want to be entertained, distracted, and they forget about the survival skills part. And I'm just very aware of it because I'm a student of evolutionary psychology and because I think about these things. And I think that that's an essential part of good movie making, is it needs some element that we can pick up from in terms of survival skills. I think that the industry is in a transitional moment. And I think the narrative for young animation students has been, you go to animation school, and then if you're successful, you get to animate for Pixar, or you get to animate for Disney. That was the definition of success. I believe we've come to a point where that is no longer the definition of success. We have a generation of young animators who are going to take animation as an art form to a new level. And those are my students. Those are the people I teach, the ones that want to take it to a new level. And I think that Hollywood and the big movie studios, they do what they do. They make a tremendous amount of money. They make movies on a production line. They announce release dates before they've got a movie to put in it. They start production before they've got a script. They start production, they start development before they have a story. They do the most remarkable things, and they generate a lot of merchandising. And that's what it is. We Americans are really good at selling things to one another. That's what we do. And Hollywood and the big movie studios are just excellent at it. The marketing department for the Disney company is what I have read, is the largest merchandising operation in the United States, is what I've read. Fine, that's fine, but let's don't pretend that these are storytellers. These are merchandisers. And what they're doing is they're making stories, they're making movies that feed the merchandising machine. And what they're saying is, in terms of survival strategies, you'll be a happy person if you go to Disneyland. That's what they're saying. And I think that's fine. I don't want to fight with them. If they want me to teach them about acting, I'll be happy to do it. I don't think they're interested in it. I don't think they find it useful or relevant. It doesn't help them sell more toys. And so I am interested in talking to the new generation of filmmakers and animators and seeing the art form of animation move into its rightful place next to painting and sculpture and music as an art form. It's a very exciting time, and I'm very privileged to do what I do.